Coming in at number 5, we've got Asog. I'll start with a demon that's like literally intertwined with the earth. We're not even on Earth at this point. Asog is part of it, and that's pretty cool. Well, at least until you realize how horrifying he is, and that in all likelihood Asog wants you to die the most painful death possible. Then it gets a little less cool. This demon from Sumerian mythology was born from a union between a sky god and an earth goddess. Somehow a god and a goddess created a horrifying demon. Somebody's gotta have an explanation for that. Maybe goodness cancels itself out at some point? I'm probably looking too deep into the mathematics of it. He somehow partnered with the mountains on the earth to create all sorts of rock monsters who will follow him around as a personal army. These little stony soldiers are super hard to kill, you know, because they're made of rock, and will do Asog's bidding pretty much without question. The rock army is only the beginning too. Asog is associated with all sorts of other horrid things like plague and disease. He can dwell inside people using these powers and will often wear human skins like clothing to further his own plans. And even if he doesn't choose you specifically as a puppet, he's going to inflict you with some deadly disease. So good luck if you feel like you're getting a head cold. That means Asog could be near. Also keep an eye out for dead fish in bodies of water. There's a story about Asog that claims he's so vile and terrible that fish will boil alive in rivers simply from his presence. Born of gods and goddesses, leader of rocky armies, and imbued with the power of disease and death. That is an earthbound demon for the record books. Even if you're confident in your ability to face this demon, he's said to be almost indestructible thanks to that rocky predisposition, so bring lots of explosives. Or maybe just avoid them altogether. Coming in number 4, we've got Vapula. Returning to some Christian demonology, we've got Vapula here. Ever had a friend who suddenly becomes way too paranoid and controlling? Maybe one day they just decided to start being super manipulative, possibly to the point of eroding relationships entirely? Well, they may have been reading the wrong kind of self-help books, or they could have been possessed by Vapula. A great Duke of Hell commanding 36 legions of demons, Vapula has quite a bit of sway in the underworld. However, at one point he did serve in heaven. It's said that Vapula was a soldier under Archangel Ariel before the fall, but now holds a permanent position in hell. However, he's not content to stay deep underground, waiting for the next demonic war. Nah, Vapula's gonna go to the surface and teach humans forbidden knowledge. Hell, you might as well try to corrupt them, right? With a deep knowledge of philosophy, mechanics, and sciences, Vapula would be a bit of a nightmare at any house party. Try holding an inebriated conversation with him that doesn't end up with some long-winded explanation of a theory nobody asked about. But the folks he does sink his claws into tend to also take great interest in said topics. It doesn't stop there though. All of that knowledge tends to make one crafty and possibly even distrustful of those around you. So in sharing his philosophical ideas with unsuspecting humans, he also makes them paranoid that their loved ones and pretty much anyone else around might be working against them. Small-minded wretches who only want to bring them down. He convinced people that they are the smartest and that everyone else is a mindless automaton meant to be taken advantage of or ignored. Uh-oh. So while those possessed by Vapula might find themselves with an IQ boost and some extra problem-solving skills, it's not likely they'll use these things for good. It'll be a whole lot of snooping around and blaming others for things going wrong. I think we all know someone like that. Coming in number 3, we've got Akamana. In a similar vein, here's another demon who likes to lure people away from all things good. Akamana, the tainter of the mind, the destroyer of morals. Fine, upstanding folks beware. This demon wants to make sure you live a life of sin, shame, and regret. Not that you'll know how you got to that point, but hey. This Zoroastrian demon goes by many names, most of which end up translating to mind made evil, which makes a lot of sense considering this demon's whole purpose. It gets into your mind and makes you want to do bad things, like avoiding good altogether. You could work out and then volunteer at the food bank today, but Akamana wants you to watch that new trashy dating show on Netflix while ordering Uber Eats and stalking people on Instagram. I'd say the choice is yours, but when it comes to demonic possession, it's hard to guarantee that. The more Akamana influences people to act in negative ways, the closer he gets to his ultimate goal, seeing evil run rampant. It starts small, little acts of sloth and lust, but if he keeps good out of people's minds, larger scale negativity takes hold. Moral obligations, out the window. It's Akamana's world at this point, we're just living in it. Coming in number 2, we've got Agaris. You'd better stock up on red bars of soap, you're gonna need them where we're going. That's a Christmas story reference for those of you who aren't quite sure about the significance of a leg lamp. Just watch your mouth, alright? Before somebody washes your mouth. Agaris is a demon from the Christian pantheon and presides over 31 legions of demons as a great duke of hell. He looks like an old man riding a crocodile and often has a hawk on his hand. Pretty wicked, right? A big thing Agaris is known for is causing earthquakes. That is a wild power in and of itself, but it's not even the one with the widest influence. His big calling card is the ability to teach language, and not just any language, filthy language. This is the demon who decided that humans needed to know how to use profanity. Like the kid in the schoolyard whose dad lets him stay up late and watch 14A movies. He's teaching folks all sorts of bad words. Who knew there was a demon that specialized in that? Apparently those who Agaris possesses let loose insane strings of profanities in all sorts of different languages. Hell, people who seem to speak in tongues might very well be hosting Agaris. I would recite some of the nastier bits, but then we have to beep it all out. We might miss out on some advertising revenue, so maybe do your own independent research. Just don't be bringing that filth into the comments section. I'll find you, red bar of soap in hand, and you will not like what happens next. And finally, at number 1, we've got Lamashtu. Who's hungry? Maybe that's in bad taste, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Lamashtu is found throughout Sumerian and Mesopotamian legends and tends to scare the absolute pants off of people. There's not much that Lamashtu doesn't get up to. Like, if Lamashtu wrote a book about demonic activities, it'd be a bestseller amongst aspiring Hellions. It could even be a cookbook, and it might make it to be one of Heather's picks. So I keep making references to food. Lamashtu kills crops, causes terrible weather, poisons the water supply, gives people nightmares to last entire lifetimes, the works. But she also harasses pregnant women throughout their pregnancies and then steals their babies to drink their blood and chew on their bones. Yum yum, right? All that sounds pretty bad. In fact, it's said that things got so bad that people started summoning Pazuzu to deal with Lamashtu. And it's not like Pazuzu was coming to defend the women or anything. No, it's just that Lamashtu and Pazuzu hated each other so much that if they were in the same town at the same time, it was on sight. Talk about the lesser of two evils, right? Coming in number 5, we've got Ronov. Learning is a lifelong endeavor, correct? The moment you stop learning, you stop living a worthwhile existence. Hopefully nobody feels too called out by that, but I will stand by the statement until I stop learning, which will be when I die. Hopefully Ronov comes for me, because that means I will have lived a long, potentially prosperous life. I say potentially prosperous because nothing is guaranteed, and this demon doesn't seem to particularly care about anything other than old age. Known as the taker of old souls, Ronov will appear near the end of a being's lifespan, whether that be human or not, in order to harvest its soul. Like a wine connoisseur, Ronov knows that things get better with age, and he's more than happy to wait the allotted amount of time. In the meantime, he is a teacher of many things. Maybe the pursuit of knowledge and friendship makes one's old soul even more valuable. Ronov is known for his teachings of rhetoric, or how to be convincing. In fact, a lot of his rhetorical teachings are meant to endear people to their peers, win over potential pals, partners, and people in general. This could be to help Ronov eventually find even more old souls to harvest, but can you blame him? It's kind of like a modern day social media pyramid scheme boss babe scenario, you know? Teaching folks how to influence other folks in order to bring all sorts of organized profit for the person at the very top. But you're running your own business, Ronov. Now, you might not think that someone coming to collect the old souls of old creatures is such a bad thing. However, if a soul goes with Ronov, it's definitely not going anywhere else. So folks who dreamed of a beautiful afterlife in somewhere heavenly might find themselves disappointed, if not totally distressed, with the afterlife Ronov has to offer. Plus, the dude's hideous, like mad ugly, even for a demon. People describe him as a hideous monster with a balding, upsetting human face. He's got a monkey's tail and walks around in the nude carrying a gnarled old staff. I really hope that's not a euphemism. Yikes. Coming in number 4, we've got AIM. Look around you. Everything's on fire these days, it seems. Temperatures are rising around the globe and nothing seems to be safe from flame. Forest fires are to be expected, although these are more common and destructive than ever. Thanks, baby gender reveal parties. Definitely worth it. But the overuse of blue and pink fireworks in heavily wooded areas isn't the only thing contributing to these massive pyres. Sure, forests are on fire, but those are made of wood, famous for its flammable properties. How about the ocean though? Should that really be catching fire? Now, we can look at all sorts of contributing factors here and come away with a list of things adding to the flammability of our world. Burning fossil fuels, weapons manufacturing, the exploitation of delicate natural resources, and more. But what if we could blame a demon for all these big fires? Wouldn't that take the blame and pressure off for a little bit? If you think that's true, then I have a demon for you. AIM, Great Duke of Hell, commander of 20 demonic legions, all around jerk. Classic. Aim is known for his love of fire, and he doesn't ever seem to stop igniting them. Depicted as a man in most accounts, he's got a good head on his shoulders. A good few heads actually, as in addition to his human head in the middle, there's a serpent head and a cat head. He rides around on an enormous viper, wielding a firebrand at all times, and with that ever-burning torch, he ignites all of those insane fires. Most of what he burns can be considered great places. He's been responsible for the incineration of enormous castles, bustling cities, and other assorted buildings and locations. And of course, this can be spread to other problem areas like forests, the ocean, and all of Australia. So put away your charity money, forget about living a greener life, and don't bother lobbying major corporations and governments to cool it with the environmental destruction. Just blame AIM, the demon from hell, for all this fire and smoke. Isn't that just so much easier? Coming in number 3, we've got Mephistopheles, the meddling middleman demon. Mephistopheles will gladly take your soul for a luxurious price. Enjoy all the things you've imagined yourself enjoying as long as the devil has your essence at the end of the day. Sounds pretty nice, right? Well, Faust might disagree with you. Mephistopheles is a demon of German origin, famously originating in the demonic deal-making legend of Faustian fame. If you're willing to sacrifice your values for material gain, you might run into Mephistopheles. In the original legend, Faust is dissatisfied with his life and after attempting to end it himself makes a deal with the devil. In this deal, Mephistopheles will serve Faust for a set amount of time, and at the end Faust will be handed over to the devil for an eternity of servitude. This demon helps Faust seduce a beautiful young girl, often named Gretchen, resulting in her life falling to ruin. How the tale ends is widely contested, as many different versions of the story have been told. However, through Mephistopheles' help, Faust often commits to a life of sin, unable to make up for the evil deeds he's done. In one of the most famous tellings of Faust, penned by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, Faust does make it to heaven in the end thanks to his endless striving. This makes Mephistopheles quite mad, but what can you do? Of course, this demon has also been reimagined in many ways, becoming a stock demonic character in folklore and even being made into an enemy of Silver Surfer and Johnny Blaze as Mephisto. There's no avoiding the influence of this particular demon, and as a human with desires, you've probably had a few brushes with him over the years. Coming in number 2, we've got Baal. Some demons are especially hideous. Baal knows this fact quite well, as he is one of the most despicable looking. Appearing as a combination of cat, toad, and man, often a weird blobby mix of all of them with spider legs underneath, this is a weird looking dude. Sorry, Baal, but it's true. Somehow, this hideous creature seems to be able to teach people concepts related to science and love. The first one, I sorta get. The second one though, well, you know what? Maybe the adversity Baal has gone through thanks to his hideousness has made him a wiser, kinder person. He's still a demon though, so take what he teaches with a grain of salt. He commands an indefinite number of legions and could be ranked anywhere from a Duke of Hell to a prince to even a king. He's got a hoarse voice and can also make anyone invisible. So yeah, Baal everyone! And finally at number 1 we've got Ariman. While this demon might not be immortal in the same way others are, he definitely represents all sorts of negative forces in a way that's all his own. Ariman is the Zoroastrian primordial deity of evil. It's a pretty heavy title, don't you think? Often called the Druj or the Lie, he's the force that drives anger, greed, envy, and more. Folks spend their entire lives trying to avoid the influence of this demon, oftentimes to no avail. It's hard to stay away from a force that embodies chaos, death, disease, disorder, and confusion. It's just all part of the human experience. There are many legends concerning Ariman, from the creation of many diseases, to the invention of other demons meant to cause harm to humans, to raising a son to be pure evil. Ariman is evil incarnate and appears in many tales across many places. He is destined to be eventually overcome by forces of good, but until that happens, things are gonna be pretty rough. Coming in number 5, we've got Pisachas. Out of all the demons created by Brahma, these ones are probably the worst of all. They take the cake, no problem. They take the meat, rotten flesh, bones, and other assorted once living food too. Pisachas love to eat, and they will stop at nothing to get a meal. Their preferred food is human flesh, though it doesn't seem to matter if it's alive, dead, or even fresh. As long as they get to eat people, they're happy. Knowing this, most folks would do well to stay as far away as possible from these things. Their taste for people meat isn't all that makes them horrifying though. Pisachas have all sorts of dark and doom-ridden abilities, ready to ruin lives at the earliest opportunity. Anywhere there's an abundance of human corpses, you can find one of these demons. Whether that means a graveyard, a charnel house, or the site of a recent massacre. Once they get their fill of corpse meat, they'll go about trying to infect humans who are still alive. They're known for passing on debilitating and deadly diseases to unfortunate victims and even instilling bouts of horrid madness into others. So even if you survive one, the other might get you. The madness only serves to double down on their goals, as folks who lose their minds will often attack fellow humans, and attacks by madmen aren't often clean-cut either. Pisachas love to haunt areas in which violent deaths occurred, making this a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more deaths, the more Pisachas. The more Pisachas, the more disease and madness, the more deaths. And so on, and so on, and so on. Forests in India are said to be flush with these demons too, so watch out. People seem to think that carrying a piece of very pure iron helps in warding them off, so give it a try if you've got some hiking to do. Alternatively, you can carry around the leaves of a neem tree, as this seems to do the trick as well. The folks who have to be the most careful are pregnant women, as Pisachas love to eat their flesh, a little mother-offspring combo. Yeesh. Coming at number 4, we've got the Koshmar. My French is a little rusty, so hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly. If not, let me know in the comments. Regardless of how I say this demon's name, it is unpleasant and horrifying. This French name for a European demon is found in many different stories, usually referring to a leaping, jumping, sleep-eating beast. The idea of a sleep paralysis demon is pervasive, with many different iterations appearing across all sorts of different cultures. This one in particular is extra nasty though. Most sleep paralysis demons will simply sit upon your chest, rendering you immobile and terrified. The Koshmar will jump right onto your ribs, causing quite the jolt and possibly even some pain. From there, it reverts back to classic sleep paralysis demon behavior, complete with night terrors and the everlasting feeling of being able to do nothing about your predicament. It's not a good way to spend your night. See, this is why I don't sleep on my back. If my face is in the pillow, this demon can't hurt me, or so I think. The Koshmar will often return many times during the night over the course of many weeks. This can result in folks losing a whole lot of beauty rest, slowly losing energy, and becoming permanently fatigued. As time goes on, people targeted by the Koshmar will also start to refuse to sleep, staying up for days at a time. This, as we all know, is a recipe for disaster. Not sleeping for extended periods of time will make folks irritable, irrational, and possibly even cause hallucinations. Hell, in the case of people harboring sand demons, they might even become a merciless killer with no regard for human life. There are ways to counteract this though, like putting shoes beside your bed facing out, or in more extreme cases, placing iron nails inside of your mattress. The Princess and the Pea, this is not. Has anyone ever slept on a bed of nails? I personally have laid down upon one at Science North, but that was for about 10 seconds and they retracted the nails before I got up. Maybe it is worth it to avoid being visited by this terrible creature. Coming in at number 3, we've got the Langsweer. As is the case with many Malaysian demons, this one is inextricably linked to childbirth. The Langsweer in particular is a demon born of spirits who died during childbirth. Some demons will seek out newborns, others will attack still pregnant women. If the spirit who died transforms into a demon, it will grow a very particular set of new features. Langsweer are known for their floor-length dark hair, long talons, and the ability to fly. Kinda like a harpy, but much more objectively awful. They spend most of their time flying around, stealing fish from the nets of fishermen. Their long talons and flying capabilities make this an easy task. It robs food and money from the fishermen in the community, but at least it keeps them satiated most of the time. If a Langsweer decides it's had enough of fish, it might go off in search of an infant. Their absolute favorite food is newborn blood. It's like gourmet dining to them. Often the Langsweer will change form to get an infant, whether that means impersonating a nurse, midwife, or other human presence who can get close to a baby. If you ever suspect someone might be a Langsweer, look for a hole in the back of their neck. That's a sure sign the demon is looking for blood. Thankfully, this hole is also how you can kill the creature. Taking their talons and hair and pushing them into the hole can kill one of these monsters in an instant. Coming in at number 2, we've got Nidhog. I won't judge if your first experience with Nidhog was that hilarious fencing video game. To be totally honest, it was mine too. However, purge those happy thoughts from your head because this demon is nothing to be trifled with. Originating in Norse mythology, this is an enormous serpent who will always be threatening the fate of the world. It's large enough to wrap itself around the entirety of the world and constantly slithers around down there. Its constant consumption of corpses has earned it the title of the Terror of Corpses, which, while very metal, is upsetting the longer you think about it. While consuming all of these bodies, Nidhogg also tends to chomp at the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree, and when this tree falls, only bad things can follow. And finally at number 1 we've got Namazu. And to cap us off, another underground creature way too large to even picture. The creator of earthquakes, the king of catfish, Namazu. And when I say catfish, I don't mean people lying on their dating profile. I'm talking about an actual whiskered fish that lieth deep in the muck and mire. You're not going to want this one to latch onto your arm though, not even if you are a redneck noodling legend. This catfish should be left well alone because it's basically as big as a continent. Powerful enough to be the source of all earthquakes too. In Japanese lore, the Namazu lies in rest under their country. However, if it ever becomes angry, it will begin to thrash around, and you can guess what happens next. In order to prevent the destruction caused by these rage-fueled tantrums, it's said that a huge stone lays upon its back, which keeps it still. Well, at least until the deity watching over it loses focus, which is bound to happen from time to time. Because of the massive destruction some earthquakes caused in Japan, many started treating them as events meant to rectify some of humanity's sins. This also meant treating this legendary enormous catfish as a god of sorts. A god or a demon? You decide.